After centuries of rivalry, China and Russia have forged an unofficial alliance, although it falls short of the lofty expectations set by Presidents Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin just before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Over the past decade, the energy, military, and political connections between these two powerful authoritarian nations, both seeking to disrupt certain aspects of the US-dominated post-Cold War order, have strengthened as a result of the war, despite China's reservations about Russia's invasion and its consequences. This growing partnership has raised concerns among democratic leaders from Washington to Tokyo. So, what factors have brought China and Russia closer together? The convergence of their interests can be traced back to their shared disillusionment with the United States, which deepened after the US-led invasion of Iraq in 2003 and became more pronounced following the 2008 financial crisis that originated in the US. Recognizing that this crisis would undermine global confidence in the U.S. economic and political model, both countries cautiously expanded their ties. However, in 2014, Russia's annexation of Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula led to sanctions and a definitive rupture between Russia and the Western world. As a result, Moscow had to seek new partners and markets for its energy exports, and China's rapid growth made it a suitable match. China emerged as a significant buyer of Russian commodities and weapons. Furthermore, both countries share a deep animosity towards U.S. alliances that they perceive as encroaching on their respective spheres of influence. For Russia, it is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, in Europe, while for China, it is Washington's network of bilateral defense treaties in the Indo-Pacific region. Although not a formal alliance based on a treaty, the partnership between China and Russia has been bolstered by a strong personal bond between Putin and Xi. What is the reason behind the close relationship between these two leaders? Both Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin have endured challenging childhoods, which has instilled in them a resolute determination to suppress dissent within their own countries and restore their nations to greatness, thus ending what they perceive as humiliation inflicted by the US and Europe. Their personal connection has been cemented through numerous meetings, including occasions where they have cooked together, such as making dumplings in Tianjin and pancakes in Vladivostok. In 2019, Xi referred to Putin as his best friend. Their joint statement last year explicitly expressed their shared disdain for Western notions of democracy, which they defined without considering elements such as elections, independent judiciary, or free media. According to them, it is up to each country to determine whether it can be considered a democracy or not. Another joint statement issued after Xi's state visit to Moscow in March 2023 highlighted the resilience of their relationship amidst the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the ever-changing international landscape. The two leaders further solidified their ties during another meeting held in China in October. What is the historical background between China and Russia? In the mid-1800s, Russia, along with other European powers, imposed what were known as unequal treaties on China's Qing dynasty, resulting in the cession of approximately 1 million square kilometers, 386,100 square miles, of territory, an area equivalent to almost the combined size of France, Germany, and the UK. Relations between the two nations experienced a significant improvement for a brief period following Mao Zedong's rise to power in China's Communist Party in 1949, as he found a natural ally in Joseph Stalin. However, Mao opposed the political changes in the Soviet Union known as de-Stalinization, which occurred after Stalin's death in 1953. As a result, in 1961, Mao severed ties with Moscow. In 1969, a brief border conflict erupted between the two countries over disputed territory, and in 1972, China defied expectations by establishing a new alliance with the United States. It wasn't until the mid-1980s, when Mikhail Gorbachev assumed leadership in the Kremlin, that relations between China and Russia began to thaw once again. What are the benefits they can offer each other at present? Since 2014, Russia has supplied China with some of its most advanced weaponry, including S-400 anti-aircraft missile systems and Su-35 attack jets, amounting to a value of $5 billion. In return, China has emerged as a major purchaser of Russian oil, gas, and coal, taking advantage of favorable prices as European imports decreased. In the wake of Russia's annexation of Crimea, Gazprom PJSC, a Russian energy company, secured a significant deal worth around $400 billion to provide China with natural gas through the Power of Siberia pipeline, even offering lower prices compared to European customers. Russia is also actively seeking to establish a new pipeline connection with China. The imposition of Western sanctions following Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine has further strengthened trade between Russia and China. Beijing has become a crucial lifeline for Russia's import requirements, receiving discounted energy supplies in return. Equally important is the growing coordination of their positions at the United Nations Security Council, where both countries possess veto power, as well as their joint efforts to challenge the influence of the United States. China's trade with Russia has experienced a significant surge since Putin initiated his military actions in Ukraine in 2014, with trade volumes doubling during this period. What concerns the democratic powers? The increasing collaboration between China and Russia has raised apprehensions among policymakers in the United States, who fear the possibility of being drawn into conflicts on multiple fronts. One worry is that China may exploit the U.S.'s focus on supporting Ukraine against Russia's invasion by launching an attack on Taiwan. Additionally, the recent terrorist attack by Hamas in Israel prompted the U.S. to shift its attention and military resources towards the region. Former U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe has argued that, when adjusted for purchasing power parity, the combined defense spending of China and Russia exceeds that of the United States. Japan has expressed grave concerns over the growing number of joint military exercises conducted by China and Russia, deeming them deliberate and provocative actions in its defense report for 2023. There is a broader concern that the combined economic, military, and political influence of China and Russia is emboldening other world leaders with autocratic tendencies, eroding confidence in democracy as a political system, and undermining the rules-based international order that the U.S. and its allies have promoted since the end of the Cold War. Xi and Putin assert that these rules primarily serve the interests of the U.S. and its allies, who selectively disregard them as they please. This viewpoint has gained support in the so-called Global South. Moreover, populist leaders in the Western world, including former U.S. President Donald Trump, have also contributed to the erosion of faith in democratic institutions. How has the war in Ukraine influenced their relationship? China took a cautious approach during the war in Ukraine, refraining from openly criticizing the invasion and instead placing blame on the U.S. and NATO for the conflict. Furthermore, China continued to purchase Russian oil, which was being rejected by some other countries, indirectly providing financial support to Moscow's military efforts. However, Xi Jinping exhibited hesitancy in fully endorsing the war or actively assisting Russia in mitigating the economic impact of the sanctions imposed by the United States and the European Union. In September 2022, following the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders since the invasion, Vladimir Putin acknowledged that China had questions and concerns regarding the conflict. Nonetheless, the combination of sanctions imposed on Russia and the military losses it suffered in Ukraine have further tilted the already imbalanced relationship in China's favor. With a gross domestic product 8 times larger than that of Russia, China has significantly more at stake in the global economy, which remains largely dominated by the United States and other developed democracies.